Hello and welcome to today's project. We're going to be doing a SQL and Power BI project, and it's students' habits and their and the perform and the impact it has on their academic performance. I'm really excited about this one. Like I'm so excited. So yeah, this is what you're basically going to be able to create at the end of this project. So you can see the dashboard is dynamic. If you want to see it by parental education, like this is what you're going to be able to create at the end of this video. So yeah, if you're new here, my name is Stacy Samoe, currently an strategy and analytics and strategy lead. And yeah, broke into data about 3 years back from a non-technical background. And I just love sharing all the knowledge I've gained so far, also talking about like my experience. I've taken down most of the videos, like my talking videos, but they're coming back better. Yeah, they're coming back better. Yeah, so just investing on some things that they're coming back better. But yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to subscribe. If building this is something that you're interested in, feel free to stay to the end. So now I want to switch to another tab. So yeah, just give me a minute. Okay, so I always take your feedback seriously. Sometimes I might take a while to implement it. I might not implement it immediately, but I do take your feedback seriously. So one of the things that I'm going to link down below is this project documentation. Like one of the things that people have been asking me is to just document the project, like what is the project flow, and most importantly, like the insights. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is we'll review the insights, but I'd be like, document the insight. I'd want to see how you do it, though chances are high by the time I link this in the description, I would have probably added my insights, yeah, or not. I'm not sure, but I'd probably add. So yeah, so this is a comprehensive end-to-end data analytics project that explores the relationship between student habits and academic performance. It's ideal for practicing the full data analytics workflow from data cleaning and feature engineering in SQL, SQL to build insightful, and then we'll build an insightful dashboard in Power BI. So yeah, you can add this to your project portfolio or use it as a discussion point during interviews to showcase your analytical thinking, technical skills, and ability to generate actionable insights. So like you could practice this project, and if you like go for an interview and someone asks you, oh, have you ever done this in SQL? Have you used SQL before? Have you used Power BI before? Like building this project is something that you can reference. So we're going to do some feature engineering and data cleaning in SQL. So we're going to use my SQL specifically, and I'll link a video down below to just help you download my SQL if that's the tool that you want to follow along this project with. If not, honestly, you can use whatever, whether you're on Postgres or SQLite, it's okay. There might be slight difference in syntax, which I doubt for this case because I kept it very simple. But yeah, you just Google or ChatGPT equivalent. Then this is the data set that we are working with. So student ID, age, these are some of the columns. But for the data set that we're interested in, like the final data set that will actually import onto my Power BI, not because of like my SQL, I mean Power BI. These are the like this is the data set we're interested in. So things like count of students, average exam score, these are features that we're going to engineer. And then once this is done, we're going to import this data set onto Power BI, and then we're going to create our dashboard. So designing and building a student habits versus academic performance dashboard. And lastly, we're going to look at our insights. So just explore the dashboard and just get to understand like what is this data telling us when it comes to the behavior of people who actually perform well. Okay, so let me zoom in a bit, hopefully not too much, because something else that some of you told me is you've watched this on your phones, and yes, if the text is too small, you don't get to see. So I hope this is zoomed in enough for you. But yeah, these are just the columns that were listed in the document that we've come from, the document that's just highlighting this project. And again, I'm going to link that document down below. I'll link where I got the data set also down in the description. And I got it from Kaggle. And I'm also going to link the SQL code that we're going to write here. So what we want to do in the SQL now is we want to create a data set that has gender, parental education level, extracurricular activity, part-time job, diet quality. Then we're going to create a column called exercise frequency group, attendance percentage group, study hours group, sleep hours group, and then count of students, average exam score, etc. So the whole point of this analysis is to just determine, is there a relationship between, let's say, exercise frequency and what's the independent variable. In this case, that's the average exam score. So like what drives high exam score? Is it true that people who exercise frequently tend to perform better compared to people who don't? Or is that a false statement? Is it true that people who have a part-time job, let's say, maybe they're a bit distracted, so they tend to perform worse compared to like people who don't have a part-time job and like they can focus? Does diet quality play a part? So people with like good diet perform better than people with like poor diet. So we're going to create a data set that will enable us answer these questions. So we have a select all. So this asterisk here means all. So we have a select all from student habits table, and that's what it's doing here. And then now what we want to do is we just want to be specific to the columns that we're interested in. So in this case, we're interested in gender. And then we are also interested in, so let me just come here and I click on them. So it will also make sure I'm just getting the spellings right. So we're interested in gender. Okay, I don't know why. Mm, My my cursor is refusing to select, so we'll just type we're interested in gender. And then we're also interested in parental education level. Let's see if my cursor, probably need to get a mouse. Okay, parental education level. And then we're also interested in extracurricular activity, so extracurricular participation. And then we're also interested in part-time job. So with the part-time job column, so you could decide to type. I just prefer to double click. It should work. Yes, double click. And then the other one is diet quality. With that one. Yeah. Okay, if it's also acting up, we just start typing. I need to get a mouse. And then, so other columns that we want is exercise frequency group. So let me just do this. Okay, but I wanted it spaced. So something else we're also interested in is, let me do this. Yeah. So something else we're interested in is exercise frequency groups, attendance percentage groups, study hours groups, and sleep hour groups. So these don't exist, so we'd have to create them. Yeah. So like let's do diet quality, and then we run this and you guys see. So it's just pulling that up, yeah. So to just make it clear what I mean by, so we don't have this. So like if we add exercise frequency, so exercise frequency is there. So exercise frequency, yeah. So let's run this and see. So exercise frequency is there, but now we want to group it. So we want to create categories of people in exercise frequency. And so what I did is I checked like what's the minimum, what's the maximum, and I used the minimum and the maximum for each to just decide how I want to split my data. So you can decide to do it like this. You can decide to check the minimum and maximum. So like select like distinct exercise frequency, or select maximum exercise frequency, select minimum exercise frequency to just see the maximum and the minimum, and then you can use that to just determine how you want to break your bands. But most of the time in real world, like if you're like when you're actually like real world scenario, like you're working on a project for like at your job or for a client, you could use like statistics and just to do like equal ranges. So like I try to make the bands equal, but most of the time there has to be a reason behind it. So like let's say if you work at a hospital, or let's say you work in marketing, yeah, and you're just trying to get the behavior of clients, like at what point do clients tend to like come to your application. So you would know that I'm going to do this by morning, mid-morning, or let me say you're trying to look at team performance efficiency. So you can't just say every 2 hours or every 3 hours or every 4 hours. You could, but what might make more logical sense is you do something like morning, mid-morning, straight after lunch, just before people, 2 hours after lunch, then just before people go home. And it's because you know the touch points you're looking at. Because if you say every 2 hours, it might not really be very helpful. You ideally need to create your bands, attaching it to some real life behavior. Because if you just say every 1 hour and then you see, okay, at this hour, people are not productive, then what? It could work and you could realize, okay, it's at this hour, compared at this hour, it's like an hour to lunchtime, or it's just after lunchtime. So to cut my long story short, is like when you come up with these bands, especially in like real world scenario, whether you're working for like a client or you're in your 9 to 5, you have to explain why you came up with those bands. And most of the time it has to be attached to a process. Yeah. So yeah, so here I came up with them somewhat like equal. I tried to make them equal. Yeah. So for exercise frequency, we're interested in up to 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, then greater than 6. So what we do here is we're going to use a case statement. Again, if case when, if some of this uh, SQL functions that I'm using you're not very familiar with, it's okay. Like I have a whole tutorial on like basic SQL, intermediate, advanced, so you can go and check it out. Because in this particular project, I'm not going to go into details about the various functions. We'll just see how it works. So in this case, case one frequency is greater than or equals to 2, then we call this 0 to 2. And then, so this one had 4. So it had 4, 1, 2, 3, 5 to 6. I think 6 was max. So yeah, I think 6 was max. Yeah, 6 was max. So when exercise frequency, also we need to close that. When exercise frequency is greater than or equals to 4, then 2 to 4. When exercise frequency is greater than 4, then greater than 4. And then we can end as exercise frequency group. Okay, so let's just run this and see what happens. So then we save 1. Why doesn't 1 have exercise frequency? So it's less than or equals to 2, not greater than. Okay, so you can see exercise frequency of 6 is under 4, is under greater than 4. Exercise frequency of 5 is under greater than 4. So we've created groups, and this will help us aggregate our data. So at this point, okay, let me not say we don't need this. Let me do this. So yeah. So I want to see how many columns and rows we have, but I can't really see, but there are many. So what we want to do is we don't want greater than 4 duplicated or greater or 0 to 7 duplicated, yeah? So what you do is we get rid of exercise frequency and now we aggregate it. So average exercise frequency as average exercise frequency. Then we get rid of this, and then we have to say group by, so you'd have to group by all the columns. So one, two, all the columns that are not aggregated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6. So it's grouped by 6. Oh no, so it's grouped by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's grouping by gender, by parental education level, by extracurricular activity. Yeah, let's run that there. So there'll be some duplication, but not as many as you've noticed. And the reason why there's some duplication is because we're grouping by a bunch of things, by gender, by partial education level, etc. So if you want to learn more about how aggregate function works, group by function works, at the end of this video, I'm going to link my tutorial for like various SQL concepts, and you can just learn about them. And there, our data set is somewhat aggregated. Then this is so messy. This is not so messy, but a bit messy. For standardization, we can just round this off. So round, so we want to round it to 2 decimal places. So let's run that and then we save. So yeah, this is cleaner. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we need to create a case statement for attendance percentage group, study hours group, and then sleep hours. So sleep hours also has 4. So I'm just going to put sleep hours there. And then I'm going to, with sleep hours. Okay, so my touchpad has decided it will pick sometimes, sometimes it will not pick. Okay, and for sleep hours, we are dealing with 5, 8, 8. So 5, 8, 8. So 0 to 5, 5 to 8. So remember, you can decide to play around with these bands. You don't have to do it exactly how I did it. And then, so like now there are 7. So if we run this, we're going to get an error. So ideally, what we'd have to do is, because now there are 7 columns, so we'd have to do group by the 7th column too. So let's run that. Let's save, and there you go. Yeah. So I'm going to create a case statement for the remaining 2, which is attendance percentage group and study hours. So I'm going to do so as attendance percentage group and study hours. Okay, so we start with the attendance percentage. Okay. So maybe something else I can just explain about case statements is it checks the first condition, then labels. Then the remaining people who don't meet the first condition now get the second level. So if it follows that order. So if you start with greater than 8, it will start with labeling greater than 8 and like that, like that. So it follows that order. Like I just thought I'd mention that because I made such a mistake. Like when I was first a data analyst, I didn't know it follows that order. Like in my early days as a data analyst, I didn't know it follows that order. And then, so the sleep hours, the study hours, yeah. So I didn't know it follows that order. And there's like some data points, so a row that were, is it study hours? Yeah, study hours. There were some, let me just get study hours first. Yeah, there were some people who met 2 conditions. So some people were being wrongly allocated because they met wrong condition. Like they met 2 conditions. So like let's say there's someone who's like find everyone who's red and then find everyone who's purple, but there's someone who is red and purple. So I would like it would find everyone who's red, label them, and then someone who's purple and label them. But there are people who are both red and purple. So ideally, I should have said find someone who's red and who is purple. So you have to make sure like you really think through how you're building your case statements, especially in a situation where each data point, each row meets two conditions. So you'd have to make sure you make it clear like what are you looking for, so that is, do you just want red only then purple, but someone who's both red and purple, because let's say there's someone who's red, someone who's purple, and then there's someone who's red and purple. So like how do you want to differentiate those groups? So if you say find everyone who's red, you should find everyone who's red, and then find everyone who's purple, find everyone who's purple. So anyone who is red and purple will be in red because you called red first, and if you call purple first, everyone who is purple and red would appear there. So like if I'm to use like let's say no, let me use the color because I was like I used another example, but it makes sense. But if I'm to use a color, it's like let's say if I identify as Kenyan, Ugandan, and then there's someone who's Kenyan, then there's someone who's Ugandan. So if I've said I'm Kenyan and I'm Ugandan, and then you count everyone who's Kenyan, it will only count, it will count me in Kenyan. And then now and then anyone who's not labeled, now they're like count everyone who's Kenyan, then count everyone who's Ugandan. So like me who said I'm Kenyan and Ugandan, I will count in Kenya. But if you count everyone who's like when everyone is Ugandan first, I'll be counted first in Uganda as I'll be counted in Ugandan because you called Ugandan first. So if there are people who fall into groups, you really have to think about it. So do you want to be like case when country is Kenyan and Ugandan, then now find people who are Kenyan and then who are Ugandan alone. So I just be careful about that because I actually made a mistake and I was like people are consuming the wrong data because of that. But of course, it's like I work with very brilliant people and someone caught it. And yeah, it's just something that I tend to pass forward. So back to attendance percentages. So attendance percentages are using 66, 76, 86. So 66, 76, 86. Hmm. So there are three. And then, oh yeah, greater than 86. Greater than 86. And then the other one, so that is attendance study hours, is 246. Study hours is 246. Okay, so anyone who scored 66 or less will be here. So that's 0 to 66. Anyone who scored, so this is inclusive. So like the upper limit is what counts. So like 0 to 66, then here it's like technically it's 66.1. So 66 to 78. Is it inclusive or exclusive? It is ex it's exclusive of the lower limit. Please correct me if I've gotten that wrong. Yeah. So this one is 76 to 86, and then this one is greater than 86. And then in this case, it's 0 to 2, and then 2 to 4, and then 4 to 6, and then anyone whose sleep hours is greater than 6. Then we can save and run that. Oh, so I need to group by, I think we've added 2. So 7, 8, 9. I think we added 2. So let's see. Yeah, so group by 9, the columns we have. Then, so we have most of the columns we're interested in. So now we need count of student, average exam score. So we can start with count of student. So count student ID as count. Oh, well, let me just say count. Okay, let me just say count of students. Okay. Then we're also interested in average exam score, average exercise frequency. So average exam score and average attendance percentage. So average exam score. So I just want to select all of them. Average exam score, which is our independent variable. So average exam score as and then average exam score, average attendance, study and sleep hours. So average attendance percentage as average. And then we want the average study hours. So we don't need the per day per se. And then we also want the average sleep hours as average. So this is the last column that we're interested in. And this aggregate function, so our group by will be okay. We'd only need to update our group by if we had added some non-aggregated columns. And yeah, that's our data set. The only thing is, what you'll notice is our data set is not very clean, like in terms of the decimal points. So we'd have to put the round function on all aggregate functions. So like the round function is basically round, open brackets, then at the end of it, comma, to how many decimal points, close brackets. So I'm just going to copy paste 1, 2, 3. I don't think we need the round function in our count. Yeah, the count is okay. So, and then we come and put it here. And now everyone will be in two decimal places. And yeah, that is our data set. So we come here and save. And then we can call this main data. So we save it. So now that we have our data set nice and clean, we can go on to Power BI and yeah, create our dashboard there. Okay, so we're now on Power BI, and the first thing you're going to do when you're on the Home tab is come to Get Your Data, and then come to Text and CSV, and we named our data main. And if you need to do some transformations, you'd click here. If you're interested in learning how to do transformations on Power BI, again, stay tuned, subscribe, and yeah, coming soon. And yeah, if there's anything like you'd want to see me do, whether it's some projects on Tableau, on Excel, on Power BI, more projects on SQL and Power BI alone, SQL alone, how to work with DBT, etc, do let me know. And yeah, I'll for sure plan that out. But for now, let's load our data set. Okay, so we give it a minute as it loads. Okay, so we have our data there. And you can see these are the various columns that we created. And yeah, we can begin creating our dashboard. So I'm just going to do, I want to save this actually. So I'll just call this project 2. But yeah, name it whatever feels appropriate to you. I'm just going to call it project 2. And the first thing we want to do is to just add a text box. So the text box is where we are going to put our title. And I'd already written down the title somewhere. So let me just get it. So I don't like how it's come. Mm, okay, let me just undo that and cancel. And then let me just pick it again from where I had saved it. Okay, so they're analyzing student habits and their impact on academic performance. So we can just make this a bit bigger. So let's say like 14. And then we'll center align it and we can make it bold. And then we leave it at that for now. We'll do all the editing, like all the I don't call it conditional formatting, but yeah, I guess it is conditional formatting, like making our dashboard more appealing at the end. So for now, let's just start adding the metrics first. So yeah, so we're going to put most of our dashboard like from here, most of our charts on like three-quarter of the worksheet. And then I want us to put a shape here. And that shape, so come to insert, is what's going to guide our it's what's going to guide how we put our filters. So this is the shape I'm choosing to use. I'll also eventually start putting shapes like on the whole worksheet to just guide the size of my dashboard. But in this particular case, yeah, let's go. Okay, so what is the first thing that I want to visualize? The first thing that I want to visualize is I want us to get some cards to just give us like how many students do we have, how many are male, how many are female. So you come and you look for card. Where is card? Here. So we don't need it this big. Then we can move it a bit. Okay, so in this card, we want to have count of students. Yep. We would have it. Yeah, so we want to see count of students, yeah. And we also, I don't want that boundary. So values, we want to center it. And then label, I'll create a title, so I don't want the label. And then I think, is it in layout or it's in card? So we turn off that boundary. Yeah. And then we come to general and effects. I don't want the background, but I want a visual boundary. So maybe I could show you. Mm, mm, So if I turn on the boundary, it doesn't really make a difference in this case because the the background of this card and the background of the chart are the same color. But I just want to make sure everything like blends seamlessly. So I prefer to turn off the background. So it's just the number, yeah. And then the visual boundary, like I'm finding it too harsh. So I want it to be a lighter color. So what we can do here, and we can change it 3 times. So you'll notice the theme I'm going to use is blue. So I'm going to change this boundary to a light blue. So you see how what would light blue work? Anyway, let's see how light blue looks as we go. We could change it to, uh, let's change it to a gray. So the lightest gray. Yeah, you see, very calm. Yeah. So this is, oh, and we didn't put our title. So title is here, we turn it on. Then we're like total, total count of students. And then we want it center aligned. Do we want it bold? I think it's okay. Yeah. Then maybe we can make it, no, I think it's good at a 14. Yeah. So since we've already done all the formatting, there is no need for us to, because I want two more cards, yeah. But there's no need for us to create two more cards, and then we have to format them each individually. So you can just take these cards. Let's bring this a bit closer. So you just duplicate the cards. And then, so for this one, we need to add a filter because this one we only want, so you can filter on this visual, filter on the page, filter on all pages if we had several dashboards, but we only have the one. So in this case, we just want female. Then we can close the filter and then we can come to title. And in its total count of, so female students. And then for this one, again, we come to filters. What we want to filter here is gender. And this time we want male. And then we come to general. We're done with this title. So total count of male students. So we have a total of 1,000. Don't want this to touch so much, but yeah, this is okay. So yeah, we have a total of 1,000 students in this data set. 481 are female and 477 are male. So this does not add up to 1,000, and you'll see why as we go. So yeah, the other thing that I want to visualize is the average exam score. So the average exam score by attendance percentage. So click out, make sure you're not on any chart, and then we come here. And then we don't need this to be this big, but I want it a bit low. So I think what we're going to do is like we're going to add all the charts we want first, and then now we come back and we start doing formatting instead of formatting as we go. So it was attendance participation, and we want to see the average exam score. So what this is telling us is people who mostly attend class, so that's 76% and above, perform on average better. So like the average score here is, so this is sum of exams, and it would have to be, this needs to be an average. Okay. So what this is telling us is, okay, so attendance does not matter. I wish I labeled this in a way that I can order it. Uh, so yeah, this is telling us to some extent attendance does not matter. Let's see. Yeah, to some extent, attendance does not matter. So people who attend by more than 86%, yes, they do perform the best. So their average exam score is 70, and then followed by 0 to 60. And then, yeah, so there are people who attend class by less than 60%, but they still perform better than people who attend more than 60%. So attendance is marginal. It's not like a big thing. It's not like a big driver of performance based on this. So the next thing we're going to look at is diet quality. So click out, and then here's our diet quality, and we are interested again on average exam score. Did I use average exam score? Yeah. So we'll also bring this here. And yes, you could read this. Oh, first of all, you make sure this is an average. But like before you start saying, okay, 70 is higher than 86, than 87, you put it on a chart. So if you put it on a chart, like you can easily and quickly consume like what's happening here. So yeah, this is telling us people with a fair diet quality perform the best compared to people with a good diet quality. So yeah, you can also conclude here that diet is not like a big deal. Like there are people who don't necessarily eat so well, but like I'm seeing people with a poor diet, like the difference is marginal. So yeah, diet quality is also not like a major thing. So like if I was to turn this into like a data science project to like make this predictive, these two columns, these two features would not go into my model because there's no correlation here. Yeah. And then the next thing we want to look at is exercise frequency. So this one I'm actually like really interested in because I am someone who exercised, like I did competitive swimming like all my life till I fit till all my life pre all my life pre finishing uni, so pre-working. So I believe like people who exercise, hmm, I believe that people who exercise tend to do well because, but let me say I believe people who tend to exercise. I think when you get into that routine, because now I was so used to a certain routine, and then when I'd stop exercising, like my grades would drop. But let's see what this means. So exercise frequency and average exam. And then we have to make sure this is an average. And then let's do a bar chart first. And okay, so there is some relationship. So let's make this a line chart. Let's make it area. It's area chart. And then we can bring this here. So let's make this smaller. And then what do I need to? I want to make, I've already made this smaller, so it's now moving this. But we'll get to formatting later. So what I want to do actually to just make it easier for me is let's make this background. Um, and let's do so. Just let's make this gray. Yeah, so that it's just easier for me, but we're going to change it to something else because I want to like get an idea of where what is ending. And then okay, even if it's not perfectly even, but yeah, we'll get back to it. So you see like this. I didn't change so there's changing the background and then there's the card. So the filler, if I turn it off, it will blend. So let me do it for all of them. So just in case you want your dashboard to be whatever color, like there's no filler, it will blend with the background. So if I'm to turn this background back to white, see? Yeah. But now let's work with gray to because it's easier for me to like see very well like what I'm doing. So we've established there's a relationship. So people who exercise more than 4 times tend to have a very high average exam score. People who exercise 2 to 4 times, I think this was in a week. Let's assume it's in a week. Of course, it's in a week, yeah, or a month, but let's say a week, tend to have an average score of 87. And then people who exercise means 67.89. So it's very marginal. So it's like more than 4 times is the it thing, less than 4 times. Like the performance doesn't make sense. I mean, the performance is lower, not that it doesn't make sense. And for me, this makes sense because I'm just like, my hypothesis here is like by the time you're part of a sport, like you're part of a team, whether it's you exercise through sport or you go to the gym and you're like consistent, like it comes with a lot of discipline. And discipline is king and key to like many things. So if you're disciplined with regards to like your exercise and you're actually consistent and you follow like a certain schedule, yeah, chances are high you're likely to take that same discipline when it comes to studying. So yeah, something interesting there. And if we were to turn this into like a data science project, for sure I'd be making this a feature because there is some correlation. And yeah, so the next thing we're going to look at is study hours. So what is the relationship between study hours and so where's my study hours? So study hours and average exam score. And let's make this an average. Okay, so this is also something else that is showcasing a strong relationship and them on the same level, so on too. So people who study by more than 6 hours perform better compared to people who study for 2 to 6 hours. And there's clearly a very linear relationship. The more you study, the higher your average score. Yeah, so again, if I was to make this a data science project trying to like build a predictive model around like performance. So maybe I work for a university and they just want to maximize like in terms of the students they admit are people who are likely to succeed in that course, less likely to drop off. Like those are some of the questions I'd be asking, like data points I'd be collecting, and I'd use that to build a predictive model. And the next thing we're going to look at is people who have part-time jobs. Like, how does that affect performance? So, part-time job is here, average exam score is here. And then for this one, I'm going to make it, let's see. Huh. Oh, average exam score. Okay, so people, average exam score, average. Huh. So there's no difference. But where have my labels disappeared? So people with no part-time job have an average score of about 69, while those ones with average have around 88. So there's no difference. So let me just come and play around with this and figure out why my labels there. Data values. So data values, category, and data value. But that makes it redundant. So we can just do data values. So yeah, a part-time job does not determine, it's not a driver of someone's performance. And the last variable that we're going to be looking at is sleep. So if you sleep more, for me, I'd say there'll be a relationship because if you're sleeping more, chances are high you're studying. No, as I would say, if you sleep more, chances are high you're studying less. But then again, you need to sleep enough because if you also sleep too little, like you won't be okay, and it's likely to affect your performance. So I'd be like people who sleep more are more likely to perform well. That's my hypothesis. So sleep hours group and then average exam score. And then we can make this a bar chart. And then we make sure this is an average. And yeah, people who sleep more tend to perform better. Very, like the relationship is very clear. So yeah, this is also something that I would use if I was to build a predictive model for like a university or something. And yeah, like I still have a feeling there's a relationship between this and this. Maybe not, because my first thinking, like it was not, it didn't make sense that because you study more, you sleep less. No. But sometimes two features could be different, but they are related. So they could create something called multicollinearity. And if you put both of them in like your predictive model, it won't do good. So you'd have to drop one. And yeah, like I've not planned out like data science projects, but I miss it. I've not done a data science project myself in a while. Like I collaborate a lot with like our machine learning engineer and like the AI, the machine learning and AI team when they're like building certain models. I don't like talking much about my work because I don't want to like share things that I'm not supposed to share. But when they build certain models, so from the point of, okay, I look at their code, I review. And for me, it's more of like, because I'm a strategy and analytics lead, it's more of like, okay, so you've built this cool thing, you have this data point. But is it just cool, or is it something that we can operationalize? Like we can actually integrate it to like the day-to-day process of the business, and how will it help us? So to that regard, I do work a lot with like AI models, machine learning models, but not building it myself. But yeah, if me doing like a data science project is something that you're interested in seeing, do let me know down in the comments below, and I'll definitely plan for it. But yeah, this is our dashboard, and let's make it look nicer. So a couple of other things that I wanted to add was I wanted to add some slicers. So oops, Control Z. So I wanted to add some slicers to just a form of filtering. So one slicer that I want to add is for gender, gender extracurricular activities. So gender. And then we can just minimize this. So like if we click on male, we see the performance. With males, it's the same. With females, it's also the same. So the trend doesn't change whether you're dealing with males or females. The sample is so small, I would not think much about it. And then another one that I would want to look at is like parental education. So what have I done? So let me remove that here. So does the level of your parents' education affect like how you're likely to do in your own academics? So like maybe if your parents had a high level of education, that means they understand it, and they understand like what it takes, and it can mentor you better. But it could also be like they're so busy and they can't really be there for you, so you figure it out for yourself. But let's see. So parents who have a master's, uh, similar trend as everyone, even for the ones who go to high school. Yeah, the trend is still similar across various segments. And then another filter I'd like to add is extracurricular activity. Like me, I'm just a firm believer of like if you have something else going on in your life, like when you're in school, whether you're like in drama club, you're in dance club, you're in swimming team, which is like sports exercise. Like I feel like those students who tend to do these activities, they're more likely to excel because it comes with a certain level of discipline, it comes with a certain level of community. And yeah, such things make sense. Like such things like go a long way. Like you get that extra support. So extracurricular activity. No extracurricular activity. Yeah, the trend is the same. But it would be nice to look at like the average score for like extra, so like something like this, does it make a difference if you're uh let's see, so if we remove part-time and we put here, okay, so no difference. Let's go back to our part-time. Okay, so time to do some conditional formatting to just make our dashboard look nice. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to start by doing is just we're going to keep the colors of the labels. So we'll come to title. So this title, it's like average of average. We don't need that. And then I want it in the center, and I feel like it's too big. So let's make it small. And so we're done at the title. And then when we come to effects, I don't want the background because I want it to blend. And in terms of boundary, I want to use, oh, I've not turned it on. In terms of boundary, I want to use, I think that's what we used. Yeah, I liked gray because the background we're going to use is white. I'm just using this so that I can see better. So yeah, if we come here, we should find all the places that we had opened, like already opened. So I should not have closed title. So I want it this gray, and then title. Again, it's saying average of average. And then I want it in the middle and I want it smaller. So if you come here, we should find all of them open. And yeah, so smaller, just average. And then, so it's like average exam score by exercise frequency group. And I don't want a background. And I want my turn the visual boundary on. And then I want this. Yeah. And then come here, we do the same thing. I, so it's just average. And then I want it center aligned. And then I want it smaller. And then I don't want a background. I want a boundary and I want it to be light gray. So we do the same thing here. Again, the title should just be average, average, average once. And I want it smaller. I want it center aligned. I don't want a background. And I want a visual boundary and I want it to be light gray. Same thing here, honestly, at this rate. It's because I don't edit my videos. I just do it as it is because I want you to see, like when I make a mistake, we make a mistake together. But I think I've been doing these things so long, like, okay, a lot rather, not necessarily so long. And like the rate of mistakes reduce. So I don't make as many mistakes as, is it funny to say, as I would have wanted to. So it's flowing. But yeah, I usually don't edit my videos, but it's also because like getting into content creation is just exhausting. Like it's not easy, like it's a lot. So I'm like, you know what, let me start with what I have. And then once I master my craft, then I'll try and master another craft, which would be editing. But I think if I'm to edit, it wouldn't be necessarily cutting out bad parts. It would be like if I like when I'm talking like this and I want to put snippets of like showing you what I mean. Yeah, but I probably will not edit my code building dashboards. I want to make the mistakes with you. Okay. Then the last bit, is it the last bit really? I'm not sure. So slicer, uh, the text, this is okay. Font color, we're keeping it. Boundary, we're just going to make it light. And then the background. Okay, and then when it comes to values, font color, boundaries, background, what does this even mean? Let's see. So that's probably, yeah, because I want to turn off the boundary, the background also. Okay, so I guess the only thing I am doing, okay, so I don't know what, because I've turned it off and I want to have a visual boundary and I want it to be light gray. And I want to do the same here. So I turn this on and then I have that and I don't want the background. Yes. And then I think this is the one because I'm probably going to keep that blue. Let me make it light blue. Uh, make it light blue. And then, okay, yeah. And then our title. So I think at this point I can turn back our Canva background to white. Yep. And then this, uh, I don't want that light. So let's do like 15% transparency. And then I come here and no. No background. So it's here. So it's the fill. And I'm like, if the transparency is 15%, there you go. And then, so there's the canvas and then there's a wallpaper. So, oh, I put it also 15%. There's something I was playing for. So I'm like, canvas background. If I make it, yeah, no, canvas background. Yeah. Uh, there is something I did, and I am failing to figure out how I did it. So it's like, so it's just a transparency because I just wanted you to make it not too blue, but I want it like a bit blue. There, there you go. And then this one needs to go all the way to the end. And guys, that's it. Now this transparency, let me adjust it. So is it on canvas background? Because I want you to be able to see the boundaries a bit. So we could say there, like a transparency of maybe 7. And then the other option is like we come to the visual boundary and we make it a bit darker. How does that look? Yeah, that's the other option. But at the end of it all, guys, this is it. We've been able to go on MySQL and like create our main data set. We did a bit of feature engineering. Did a bit of data cleaning. We used some SQL functions to aggregate functions, group by case statement. Then after we created our master data set, we loaded it onto Power BI, and we've been able to create our dashboard. So yeah, play around with it. I think you've seen how I've been doing my conditional formatting. If you don't like this color, change it to whatever color you like. Is it green? Is it purple? Is it black? I really don't know. But one thing I can tell you is like most of the places I've worked, so like my 9 to 5, or like if I picked up a side gig, like most of them don't really care about the prettiness. It's more of like more about the correctness and the accuracy of the data and like it's communicating or which this is doing. Though this looks nice compared to like what I've been doing before, I've not been bothering to try and make them look nice. But taking time to build your conditional formatting skills is also important because I've actually ended up with a client who didn't like my dashboards, didn't like my reports. Like he was like, okay, the insights is good and whatever, but you're dealing with non-technical people and you need to make something pretty, something that is captivating to the eye. So as much as from my experience, like I'd say 80-90% of the reports and dashboards that I've built, no one cared about how pretty they are. But if you can have very accurate, clean data charts that are communicating something, but you also make them attractive, like even better for you, you'll be able to keep people's attention spans for longer. So yeah, we've been able to create our very dynamic dashboard. And what we've seen from this dashboard is number one, there's a correlation between study hours and average exam scores. And there's also a correlation between average exam score and exercise frequency, and same to average exam score and hours of sleep. So I'd also challenge you to just go and study something called causation and correlation, because two things would happen at the same time, but it does not mean that they are related. So as much as I'm seeing a relationship, is it really correlation or is it causation? So now let's just switch back to our what is it called? Our I'm also trying to find my notebook. So I just write down like the insights we've gotten so that I just go the other side and type it out. And I cannot see my notebook. So let me just quickly type it on my phone. So what we've been able to discover is that there is a relationship between exercise frequency. So let me write that. Exercise frequency. And then we've also seen between study hours and sleep hours. Oh, wait, this is average exam score by study hours. By study hours. So I duplicated. This is supposed to be sleep hours. Yeah. And yeah, there's no relationships. As you can see, people who sleep greater than 8 hours are not necessarily are not they perform worse compared to people who sleep 5 to 8 hours. And this makes sense to me. Like this makes sense to me from a point of like people who sleep 5 to 8 hours. Like 8 hours is optimal. You're not sleeping too much because if you're sleeping more than 8 hours, for sure you have less hours in a day, meaning you're probably spending less time studying. So this actually correlates to like my first hypothesis that I debugged because clearly I was looking at the wrong data. But yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. So I'm going to write down two. So then study hours and then sleep hours, not really a relationship, like it's just something we are seeing. So I'm wondering if you visualize this as a donut chart. No, let's take it back to being a visual. So yeah, so let me just switch to the other tab. Okay, so one of the insights that we saw is there is a correlation between uh, exercise frequency and average exam scores. Students who exercise more frequently have a higher average exam score. Yeah, and yeah, then you can also say there is a correlation between, okay, I don't want it to start the same, so it'll be like next thing is uh student students who study more have more hours of studying, perform better in comparison to students who have less hours of studying in a day. So this next statement is not very true because remember what I told you about when you're coming up with like your case statement, it needs to be realistic, yeah? So 5 hours of sleep is not recommended. 8 to 7 is the recommended. So maybe when I was building my case statement for hours of sleep, I should have put greater than 8 to 7, and then the rest. So now if I say the optimal, 5 to 8 hours of sleep is the optimal number, optimal amount of hours, optimal hours, hours of sleep, optimal hours of sleep that facilitates high performance. Yeah, so those are some of our insights. I'll also just encourage you to so I'm pasting this, I'm taking this, I'm putting it in ChatGPT, and I'm just like ChatGPT. So just make this sound better, more strategic. Make my insights sound better. more strategic. So I realize I'm not showing you, but literally that's what I wrote, like make my summary sound better, more strategic. Mhm. Okay, so I did not even read it, I'm just pasting it as it is. So optimal sleep range identified. There. So, like positive correlation between physical activity and academic performance. Students who engage in regular exercise tend to achieve higher average exam scores, suggesting that physical activity may contribute to improve focus and cognitive function. I agree. And ChatGPT has written that insight for us nicely. There is a clear relationship between study time and academic outcomes. Students who dedicate more hours to studying consistently outperform those with lower study hours. Students with sleep between 5 to 8 hours per night demonstrate a high academic performance, indicating this range may strike the right balance between rest and productivity. Then again, I told you guys go and check this, play around with the bins that I created using the case statement. Otherwise, guys, that's it for today's video. I have genuinely enjoyed doing this, and like my commitment to you is to keep bringing you like better, high quality, very practical projects that you can use in your journey as you learn data analytics, that you can add into your portfolio, that that you can add into your portfolio, that you can use in your journey as a data analyst to just keep practicing, because we all know the best way to learn is project-based learning. And again, if you found this useful, if this is something that has made a difference in terms of like how you're able to grasp how Power BI works, how SQL works, various functions of SQL, please let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, if there's something you'd like to see, let me know. Like something I'm considering doing is doing this project in with Python too. So like the same data set, same exploration, but on Python. And now we'll be able to calculate, though we can calculate, is there a function for correlation in SQL? I'm not sure. But there should be one in Power BI. But I know how to do it in Python. So like actually confirming, is it actually positive correlation? And what is it? Is it so the correlation is usually between -1 and +1. So is it like 0.8, 0.5? So 0.8 strong positive correlation. Like I want to do it in Python. And if that's something that you're interested in, do let me know. And yeah, stay tuned. Otherwise, guys, that's it for today's video. And yeah, for those who don't know me again, my name is Stacy Samoe. I'm currently an analytics and strategy lead. I tend to interchange it, strategy and analytics lead. And I have been in the data world for exactly 3 years now. I made 3 years since I got my first data role a couple of days ago. And I'm someone who transitioned from an technical background, and look at what I'm able to do like 3 years later. And I think you've also just seen, if you've someone who's been here for long, like how even content had helped me to keep growing, keep learning. Like when I started by learning Python, then when I actually landed Python, I thought I was strong, but for the job, for like a job, I was not very strong. But I would say like my strongest was Python, and then I knew a bit of SQL. And I ended up in a role that uses heavy SQL, though during the interview I chose to build my projects in Python. And I have over 3 years, like working, 3 years of experience in SQL. Like I used to eat, dream, sleep Python, not my SQL, not Python SQL. I still use SQL as my main tool, but now as a lead, I do some projects, but I also like guide and delegate. So I don't eat, sleep, drink SQL as much as I used to. And yeah, just coming to this channel is a way of also being staying connected to like projects. Though, yeah, I think you get my point, but this is ideally for a sit down video. Why am I over talking? But yeah, if my journey is something that intrigues you, join this community. I already mentioned that I had some sit down videos, but I took them down because of the quality. But I am working on like getting the equipment I need, mic setup, and I'm coming to now give you the story on top of the technical skills. Like, what was it like? How did CV writing, looking for a job, what soft skills matter? How did I get promoted in 3 years? And as someone from a non-technical background, I'm already a lead. How did I do it? If that's something that you're interested in, join the family by subscribing, and you can also find me on LinkedIn. Otherwise, guys, that's it from me for real. And yeah, see you on the next one. Bye.